What's up, you guys? Anthony Martin here again with another episode of Ant's Upstarts. And today we have a very special guest, so I'll let him introduce himself to the people, and we'll take it from there.
All right, for sure. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course, brother.
Marquette, Ket for those who know me. A little bit about me. I am a business owner, entrepreneur. I'm a corporate professional. I sound so picky up saying that. That's what I do. I'm in corporate sales. I know Anthony for a long time, since high school. But just a little bit about me, just going out and doing it, I feel like is what it's all about. I think we'll get into that a lot in this episode, but definitely within my career, I've seen that. Within, the business ventures I've had, I've seen that. Just started my most recent business venture, which is an extension of the DLG brand we can talk about too, in September of this year. So it's very recent, fairly recent.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm sure we'll get into more about me throughout the episode, but I'm excited to be here. Appreciate you having me on,
Of course, brother. I appreciate you taking the time to come and speak with us. So the first question would be, you're in corporate sales, you're a business owner,
right.
And of course I know your story because I know you on a personal level,
right.
But can you tell them, I guess, more of your journey from once you finished high school? Because I know you went to college, and I'll let you touch on that, but I just want them to understand kind of your background and where you came from and how this all got started.
Yeah, no, definitely. All the way back to high school, man. You make me feel old, man.
My back hurt too, man. I get it.
Yeah, so high school, and a lot of people may be able to identify with this, coming out of high school as an athlete. So going to college, my mind was sports. Right. I wasn't thinking about class. I wasn't thinking about, now granted, I always did exceed in the classroom.
Yeah.
I always, my mom's a teacher, my pops is military. You know how it is coming from a military family.
Absolutely.
You got to get those good grades or else.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the teacher.
You're not touching the field.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not worried about the teacher. I'm worried about coach. I'm worried about pops and mom. So, that's kind of what shaped me going into college was the athletic pathway.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple offers coming out of college. So I transferred from a bigger high school down here to Randolph, which is where I met you initially. And it's a smaller school field. Yeah. So getting adjusted to playing on a smaller team. And,
it was a transition.
It was a transition.
For
it
sure.
Definitely was a transition. But I went there. I lost a year of eligibility when I first came because of the transfer portal. I was able to be a part of some really great teams, both basketball and football. Mm-hmm. And from that, by the grace of God, was offered from a couple different schools my senior year to go play college ball. My thought was always going to college to be an athlete. I never wanted my parents to have to worry about tuition, have to worry about paying that. So, that's kind of how I decided to go to Texas Wesleyan University in Fort Worth, Texas, to play football there because I didn't have to pay anything. My parents didn't have to pay anything. I'm like, it's a blessing.
And you could play ball.
And I could play ball, man. It was a dream come true. So
absolutely.
I went up there, and that's kind of what shaped my pathway going into college. Now, as far as the major aspect of it, I came in as a business major. I always knew from a young age I wanted to be, suit and tie, briefcase.
Yeah.
That's the vision I had for myself when I grew up. When I grow up, I want to be in a suit and tie, looking important, doing something. But I didn't know what. So when I came into college, I came in as a business admin major.
Okay.
Which now I think back, it's like, dude, admin? Like,
yeah.
That's
not me. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's not me.
Like admin sounds important. So I'm gonna do admin. Let's do admin. So I came in as an admin major, but again, my main thing was like football.
Yeah.
So when I came in, this is at the athletic peak of my life. I feel so old saying that. Wow. The athletic peak. I'm getting after it. I'm training like crazy in the summertime. I'm going up there in the summertime to do 7-on-7 to show the coaches like, hey, I'm about business. So I want to come in doing this. So, I literally would drive up 4 hours to Fort Worth, do 7-on-7, drive back, have work the next day.
You're crazy.
As a 18-year-old, I was just like relentless.
Yeah, hey, but that's what it takes, bro. It's like,
exactly what it takes.
I get it.
So I did all that. So from that, again, this is how hard work pays off, and that'll be a recurrent theme throughout the podcast. Mm-hmm. Is I came in, was able to start as a freshman.
Nice.
So at college, I was able to start as a freshman. We were a newer program, but to come in and have my footprint that early was like, it was huge.
That's impressive, bro. That's amazing. I see the hard work paid off for sure.
Yeah.
The 4-hour drives really.
Man, them Charlie horses on the way back, man. Man, it was tough, but it all came full circle. It was a great experience up there. So I played up there for 2 seasons. We had some coaching change. Things happened. The offense changed, and I had to make a decision. For my future of my athletic career and my academic career. And from that, I ended up transferring down to Texas Southern for a semester. Same thing happened. As soon as I got to Texas Southern, new coach came in, whole new program, everything. So, I kind of had to have a sit-down moment with myself and say, like, okay, if I keep basing these college moves off of football, it's a dice roll because I don't know. Coaches are in one season, out the next season. If you're not winning, then there's no telling what can happen. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I had to sit down. I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to play in the league? For me, personally, the answer was no. Yeah. I know there's some people I played with, they didn't have a whole lot to fall back on. So football was it. They had to get it. They just like, there's no other way. They had to do it. But for me, I always felt like it's like, okay, I feel like there are other avenues where I could shine in my life. I didn't know exactly what at that time, but I'm like, okay, I feel like it's not just football. I'm good at football, but I use football as a conduit to, further my education and grow, meet people, grow within myself. So I'd had that moment when I got to Texas Southern to say, okay, the next time I move to school, it can't be for football. It's got to be for my career. It's got to be for my future. So that's when I looked around and started seeing, okay, what colleges can offer me the best pathway to where I'm trying to go. That's how I landed on Texas State. They have an outstanding business program, outstanding business program. So I'm like, okay, it's close to home. That'll work. Got to Texas State. I'm like, this is my last stop. I'm not trying to move around anymore. I'm just trying to get that piece of paper done.
Yeah,
By the time I got there, I wasn't even thinking about football as much anymore. At first I was thinking about going the PWO route there, prefer walk-on route, but I'm like, let me get a semester under my feet and just kind of go from here. Yeah. So that's what happened. That's what landed me at Texas State. So I done a tour of Texas, man. Houston, back down to South Texas, man, and I ended up graduating from Texas State. Came into contact with the professional sales program literally my last semester. So I was supposed to graduate in the summer of 2021. And those are the last classes I had. I'm like, man, I can't wait to be done. I'm cool. And then I took a professional sales class, which is again, corporate sales, B2B. And I was like, man, I'm good at this. We had like a role play situation. We have to be like selling to a company and, it's different techniques you have to touch on, but again, it's your style. It's like, there's no modular approach to this. It's like, how would you sell this and how would you earn this business? So I'm like, man, this is...
Sounds like a great class.
Yeah, and that was a great class. And I think there should be more classes like that because it's a lot of classes where you're checking the box, filling out a Scantron, but you're not really growing within your capabilities. So I took that class. I'm like, I think this is really what I want to do. And the teacher told me, she pulled me after that. She's like, that's probably one of the best presentations I've seen in my 20 years in teaching. Wow. She's like, if you don't do the sales program, I'm going to be very upset. And I know some very important people. And she's plugged in. She knows some very important people. Wow. So that fall, I went back to do the sales concentration, which was 12 additional hours. And from that, it landed me a great internship opportunity with the Fortune 100 company, Fortune 100 giant. From that, I was able to come in, create value as an intern, and they hired me on full time, which is currently what I do now.
So did they hire you the semester, like immediately right after the internship, or was there like a waiting period?
Yeah, so I started the internship in August, and I had been offered a role by end of October.
So like 2 months, that was all it took.
Yeah, come in, create value. And again, being intentional too. I told him, I'm graduating in December. This is my VP. I never forget when I first met him. He said, what do you want to do, Marquette? Like, what do you want for your career? I told him exactly, like, I would like to be a field sales rep. I'd like to be a corporate sales rep, this and that. This is the route I'm going to take. This is the vision I have for it. He's like, okay. Little did I know that whole time he was moving pieces around, calling people like, okay, what do we have open and what pipeline do we have open? Can we get Marquette in this? Can we do this? So, just being intentional, man, can open doors for you. So
I agree.
From that, got that offer and graduated in December. Told them when I graduated, I'd like to know what the next step would be. They set up some things for me, an interview. I did well, and there was a couple other companies too. That program was amazing. A couple other huge Fortune 100, Fortune 50 companies that wanted to extend me an offer, and I think that kind of like pushed them along. Like, oh, we got to get them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got that offer upon graduation, and now I'm about 2 years in with the company, and it's been good. It's been great.
That's awesome, bro. I think just that story alone, like that's really just what I want the viewers to hear, is that because I was in the same position as you.
Right.
I went to college. I didn't know what I was trying to do. I knew I wanted to wear a suit and tie.
Right.
I knew I wanted to be important. I knew I wanted to own my own business.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, so this is A, how do I get to B?
Right.
I don't know all the middle stuff. I don't know what to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for you, I think that was just an amazing story, and it puts you in a really great spot.
Right.
And you just capitalize on the opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most important things that I tell people on social media, off social media.
Right.
You got to stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
Exactly.
I know you've heard that before.
100%.
Like, if there's an opportunity there that you want, you got to take the opportunity.
Yep.
And sometimes they're just not going to fall into your lap. Sometimes you have to get after it and go get it.
Exactly.
So just from that class that you took, she kind of like blessed you with that opportunity, and you just went and you took it.
Yep.
So that was awesome, bro.
Yeah.
And because even for me, that was kind of the route I was thinking of going.
Right.
So I really feel like we're kind of going on the same path.
Right.
We just went two different ways, and we ended up meeting up again anyway.
Right.
So it ended up being the same thing. And so, I mean, I know a lot of people here, they probably know I'm a real estate agent. I'm a business owner
Right.
too. And it's just, the path isn't always clear cut and dry. You know what I mean? You're going to move schools a couple times.
Right.
You're going to meet people.
Yep.
And God will put you in a spot, and once you're ready for that opportunity,
Right.
you just got to accept it, and you just got to take it.
Yeah, and I think you just said something that I really, really like and I agree with, is that, different pathways.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that now with social media, people try to co-align with other pathways.
Yeah.
I use the analogy that life is like a highway, so everybody doesn't have the same exits. Not everybody has the same GPS.
Nice.
My route might take me 3 exits up, and then I get off and take a back road, get back on the highway, and your exit might take you 50 exits up straight.
Yeah.
But people they look at what oh, they took that exit, let me take that exit. Your GPS doesn't say take that exit.
Yeah.
So I think that's the important thing, is you can end up at the same destination, but your path to get there is not the next person's path to get there.
So off what you just said, do you think that there's a way to help people determine where that path is, or when to take that exit, or to maybe figure out how to read their GPS? Because for me, it felt like I didn't even know. I was reading Chinese, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know which exit to take, what to do.
Yeah.
So do you think that there's a way to kind of overcome that hump in a sense?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, man. I think it starts at the macro, right? Because none of us come into this world knowing exactly what we want to do or exactly what we're placed here to do. We have an idea, just like we talked about, like business admin.
Yeah.
I want to be business admin, man. That's not what I wanted, but at the time I thought it was. So we all have an idea. So start at the macro. I knew I wanted to be in the business world. Check. Okay. I knew I wanted to go to school use football as a pathway to further my education. Check. I knew that, I wanted to discover while I was in college what my pathway would be. Check. I knew that when leaving from Texas Southern, I wanted to base this decision off of what was best for my career. Check. End up taking that class. Check. End up getting that internship. Check. So again, having a macro idea, I think creates more of a micro focus as you get into that. You don't have to know exactly what you want to do, but life reveals where you should be and what you should be doing.
I agree.
It just comes down to being intentional and pursuing that.
I agree with that 100%. It's funny because I tell people that all the time. If you know the ending point, or you kind of get the gist of it,
Right.
kind of checking off those boxes and just taking that first step is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Because some people they'll have analysis paralysis.
Right. Exactly.
And they just get too overwhelmed with stuff and they won't do anything.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So just like you said, being intentional about it, you kind of take that first step.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to see the path in front of you.
Not at all.
As long as you're taking that first step, then you can take another one.
Yep.
And you can go as slow or as fast as you want to go. But as long as you keep taking those steps,
Right.
you'll get to where you're supposed to be,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
And the first step is the hardest step.
I'm telling you.
And that's the step that kills most people, because they never take their first step, man. So taking the first step is the scariest. It's the most fearful. But once you take that step, it's like, oh wow, I'm already here. So yeah, no, that's it, man. That's definitely it.
Mm. So with all that being said,
Yeah.
with everything that you're doing right now,
Yeah.
is there any, short-term or long-term goals that you're thinking of that you're wanting to achieve? I mean, short term, maybe like the next year or two, long term, 5, 10, or even farther along down the line.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think short term for me right now is establishing my footing in the corporate world, which I think I've done exceedingly well in the first 2 years. My goal was to come in and create more value for my current role than anyone around me is or has. And I can confidently say that I feel I've done that in several ways. So that was my short-term goal, was okay, this is a new chapter. Come and create value, establish footing for yourself, and create networks that can propel you along the way. So that's short-term. Long-term is to continue to develop in the entrepreneurial sense. So one thing I love about my career is that it's not a job. For me, it doesn't feel like a job. It is a stepping stone to develop what I already was doing outside of the career aspect. So again, started my first business at 19. It's like, there's a lot of stuff that I was doing then that I'm doing now with multi-million-dollar accounts, with big customers.
And it makes it way easier.
Way easier, because fundamentally it's the same stuff.
Yes.
It's the same stuff. So like, I think long-term, I just want to continue to use this chapter as a stepping stone to grow that. So kind of like a reverse psychology of like, okay, the business ownership mentality prepared me for this. Now I want this to continue to prepare me for the business ownership mentality. So again, as I mentioned to you, you know, open a new LLC in September as an extension of the DLG brand. And that's something that like, I see stuff that I'm doing like in my career, it's things that can propel that brand. So it excites me because it's not two different things. There's a lot of cohesion.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I know a lot of people, they kind of, like you said, they use their career to kind of fuel their business or to fuel their passion.
Right.
And so for the people who don't know, can you explain what DLG is?
Yeah, no, definitely. So DLG is, it stands for Dream, Live, Give. It is a brand and a movement that started in 2019 with, you know, a group of like-minded individuals, including myself, and a couple others that are doing great things right now. You know, one, you know, Tay made it. Tavian, you know, he's a multi-platinum producer. You know, my brother, you know, has done some huge things in the acting world, in the media space. You know, my brother Jaden is doing some huge things in his pathway. You know, again, my boy JC's doing great things in cinematography, photography, and all that stuff. So everybody's kind of gone off. Zay is doing his thing in his career as well. So it's like we all kind of started, but we knew from a young age. We were 19 when we started the business.
I remember,
19 years old, man. So, and what it is, I'm doing a lot of rambling, but basically DLG is, we came together and we didn't want it to be just one thing when we created it. We wanted it to be a movement. We wanted it to be an inspiration. And more than just a brand. It is a brand, but a movement. So we started in the event coordinating space. We did event coordinating just for us. You know, we do other people's events. We do clubs. We do receptions. We've done weddings. We've done things like that. So grew in that space rapidly is what we started with. But we'd also do community events. So Dream, Live, Give, what it symbolizes is, you know, dream. Everybody has a dream. Everybody has a purpose, what they're here, what they hope to aspire and accomplish. Live is what you do after your dream is, you know, once you know what your dream is, right? How do you live your purpose? How do you walk in your purpose to create the dream that you have for yourself? And once you get to the top of the hill, give is how you give back and renew that cycle for the next person with the dream. So that's kind of like the mentality aspect that DLG was based on. And again, we started in the event coordinating space, then the pandemic happens. No events, right? No gatherings, none of that.
Had to kind of pivot.
So I thought, like, how do we keep the brand alive? And that's when we got into the merchandise space. So like this, like a DLG hoodie, shameless plug. So like when we started that was in 2020 when we couldn't do events, because I think what happened with the DLG brand is we grew at such a rapid pace at the local level. Like, you know, the magnitude of our events just that quick.
I remember.
Was overwhelming even for us.
Yeah.
So, you know, we all kind of handled different aspects of it. Some was more so on the social aspect. I was always on the business side of things because that's where I thrive naturally.
Yeah.
Right. So when we're booking we're booking a venue, contracting a venue, I would handle all the contractual negotiation. They're trying to lowball you. They're trying, you know. come in and hit you with a high number. It's like I came in there with my papers, with my filing, with my files. I already knew what was going on. I know how to carry the conversation and present myself, like we mentioned earlier, off camera, as a businessman, as a professional. So I came in there and I was able to do that. The coordination of the events, the marketing, all that stuff. I was already doing that. Again, like we said, with a lot of this is cohesive.
Yeah.
Like with the career aspect being a stepping stone for the business, it was the same thing at that time. Right, this is what I'm going to school to do. So this is something I can continue to, implement here. So that's what I handle with that. But again, pandemic happens, no events. So I'm like, okay, we got to keep the brand name alive. For me, it wasn't about the monetary aspect at the time. We did well with the events.
I think those are the best businesses, and I feel like you grow at a very good and healthy rate if you're not worried about the money.
100%.
Because if you're worried about the money, you're going to do things that might not be good for the long term.
Compromise.
But you got paid today.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I think that's great that you have that mindset, especially with your business. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but a lot of people don't have that mindset. Like, we're just trying to get paid today.
And you have to have that mindset, and that's one thing I think that helped when we did try to scale the business. I will say that the business failed to scale on a large scale. Once we went to the e-commerce platform, it did extremely well again at the local level, but I had to remember where we established our grassroots was at the local level. Yeah. And it was all experiential. It was all based off of experience. People come to a DLG event. Oh, I had a great time. I can't wait to go to the next one. When's the next time DLG's hosting something? So that's kind of what it came down to, was like, okay, all of the gravity of our events was all experiential. So now it's like trying to transfer that to branded products. Again, at the local level, support was amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of support, a lot of people buying DLG merch. But scaling it outside of, let's say, someone in, Louisiana, Mississippi, they're like, what's DLG? Why should I care about it?
Exactly.
It's an ad on my timeline. I don't know what that is next, right? Nike, I know what that is. I'm gonna buy that. Yeah. So branding, merchandising, it's a whole different animal because people aren't there experiencing it in the first person to say, like, this is why I love this. It's like, okay, tell me why I should love this. That's what branding is. So, for me as a young business owner, it was hard for me to understand that. And for any business owners watching, always keep in mind, it's not about, the customer does not have an obligation to buy your product. Yeah. You as an entrepreneur have an obligation to create a product or service that they can't help but want. That is your job, right? I agree. So, that's one thing I had to buy into, that mindset, because it's hard when you put so much time into these designs.
And you want the people to love it as much as you do. Man. But it's yours. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
People don't have the same vision that you have.
Yep.
So it's hard for them to see what you're seeing.
Right.
And I totally get that, bro. I can attest to that too. Cause I had my barbershop, and if you I really wish people understood how much work really goes into it. Because of course, you can post it on social media and people will see, or you could always say, oh, I'm busy, I'm doing this. Right. And so they know, but they don't actually know. Yeah. I was working 2 jobs, trading, and spending 12 hours a day in the shop just to get it ready. Yep. You know what I mean? And just putting in countless hours. Yep. I had to wake up at 4 a.m. to go work out, because if I didn't have time. Right. I had a girlfriend. Yep. I had my family.
That's a job in itself.
Bro, you know what I mean? Yep. And so I'm juggling 7 jobs at the same time, just trying to make sure that my dream stays alive. Right. Just for people to just be like, right. You know what I mean? So to me, I was like, dude, that's a punch in the face. Right. So then it came to a point where I'm like, okay, now I have to pivot, and now I have to decide, okay, what can I do to either keep this afloat and keep this alive? Right. Or do I need to pivot to something else? Right. So then I started something else that a lot of people don't really know. So I also started a moving company. Right. I think we did $30,000 in 3 months. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I like this. Yeah. I was like, yeah, this is cool. This is cool.
Like those numbers.
Yeah, this is great. And we started getting employees. We started scaling. We started doing a lot. Things ended up happening. It ended up falling through. So, okay, it's fine. Right. So for me, and I know you're the same just from these conversations that we had, if you're a natural born entrepreneur, you're going to pivot. When you need to pivot, you're going to. Right. Or you're going to die trying, you're going to make something work. Right. You know what I mean? So for me, there were a lot of ups and downs and successes and failures. And I'm sure it was the same for you guys as well. And so I'm just happy to see, because I remember when you guys started DLG. Right. And so now it's been 5-6 years since you guys started it?
And it was 2018, 2019. So that's, about 5 years, man.
Yeah. So just for you guys to be in business and doing your thing for 5 years, like that's impressive in itself, you know? And
It's been a journey, man.
oh man. And so that's one thing that I do want everyone to understand is like the overnight successes that you see, it's not overnight.
Right.
It took 5-6 years to get to that point to where it looks like it's an overnight success.
Yes. And there's one thing I wanted to touch on too from what you just said. You know, there's a lot of, like you said, the entrepreneurial mindset is something you just got to have.
Yeah.
It's not something anyone can have for you. You know, you waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning having 2 jobs. I'm thinking from our earlier conversation, like it's me driving 4 hours up, 4 hours back.
Exactly.
It's me doing that. So again, like it's like, and at that time I didn't even have a business. So it's the same thing as just having that mentality to do that, go the extra mile to get
with
there.
whatever it is.
Exactly.
Anything.
One thing I did want to say though, to your point is, you know, I think the business failures are absolutely necessary. And I wouldn't even refer to them as failures. I refer to them as lessons. That's the only L. There's a lesson.
Learning experiences.
Exactly. Because, you know, from the DLG, you know, from the pivot to merchandising, what I did, I implemented an ambassador program. So I administered it, and it's kind of like shout out to Vic.
I was just about to say for the low. As soon as you said ambassador, I already knew.
But that's the thing, like, and that's another thing we could touch on later if you like to, is just like looking at the people who are doing it. Lower level mentorship, higher level mentorship is wildly important. But I looked at his skeleton, his model for his business. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So again, I created an ambassadorship, team dream, team live, and team give. And made it competitive, incentivized them on a point basis of, you know, sharing content and growing following for the page. And, you know, they got points for it. They can get free merch. They can get discount codes. They can get buy-in on new products. Like, okay, what should we call this colorway? What color do y'all want to see? So, like, they're directly immersed in the business now. So I created that. And that helped us scale a little bit. I got our page. I think we went from like 300 followers to over 1,000 in like under 2 months. So it grew like crazy. Customers were starting to come in, but again, we kind of tapped out because again, it's limited to who our ambassadors know. The ads were ineffective because again, DLG, the brand, didn't mean too much to people who do not know what DLG is or don't know somebody who knows what DLG is. So that's when I kind of started venturing into more of the graphic design. So I started creating more things. It was like, I want to make this appealing to someone who doesn't know what DLG is. They just think it looks good and they want to buy it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I got into. But again, let's remember, my passion is not for clothing or for clothing design. That's a whole science in and of itself.
Yeah.
So like I got another respect for people who are doing that full time, because it's like a whole, like keeping up with trends, man, inventory management, fulfillment, getting that done on time. It's a whole job. It's a lot that goes into it. Yeah. And that wasn't my passion. My passion was growing this business. So there was some things that were premature. Some products that did really well, some that did not. Some things that I learned, but I say all that to say, from that experience and from learning those things, you know, it's so much more helpful. It's so much more of an asset going into this business venture where it's like, okay, I know fundamentally what not to do. Yeah. I know fundamentally what to do. I know, you know, what resources are in place to support a business owner that I didn't know at that time. Yeah. I'll tell you something I don't think I've ever said publicly. The entire DLG venture was bootstrapped. Really? Off of savings. I did not touch one business line of credit. I wasn't even privy to the whole LLC, like all that was available. So, you know, again, this is over $10,000 that was invested all total into product, into fulfillment, into ad spend, things like that. And I saw a return on some of it, but I wasn't profitable. But again, at that time, it's all savings, all bootstrapped. So there was a lot of things I didn't know, but now going into a new business venture, it's like, okay, I understand things. Yeah. So that those lessons.
So now it feels a lot better just knowing that you know enough. Right. Or just, of course, we don't know everything, but just from where you were 5-6 years ago to now. Right. Do you ever sometimes think back and just like, man, if I would have known then what I know now, like we'd be up here.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I think you can probably attest to this as well. As a business owner, especially your first business, it's like you just have all these aspirations and ideas. Like, I want my business to blow up overnight. I was at that time. I'm like, I don't care if I got to stay up all night, packaging orders.
And you was doing it too.
Yeah. Right. It's like, I don't care. I just want my business to blow up overnight. I take what comes with it, this and that. But I'm so glad that I my first business wasn't the one to blow up.
Yeah, I agree.
You listen to any entrepreneur, you know, your Mark Cubans, your John Thamans, your Daniel Lubetskins, right? These are individuals that failed a couple times. Some of them just once, some of them a couple times before they got that business that we know today that we associate to their name.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like I needed that. I always knew I needed that, but a part of me didn't want to accept that and be like, okay, let me go take this L. No one's excited.
Yeah.
You know, but I knew I needed it though.
No, that's good, man. Well, I won't take up any more of your time, brother. Guys, thank you again for tuning in. I'm sure you'll be seeing more of us to come in the future. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Upstarts.
Appreciate it.